So in this episode, we're going to look at how to actually move to Spain. If you're thinking about moving to Spain, the biggest mistake people make is overcomplicating the process. They spend months going down rabbit holes, reading forums, watching random videos, and end up more confused than when they started. This is something that I did myself. I would research everything and anything down to the very smallest details, and I ended up more stressed and more confused than when I started. So in this episode, I'm going to break it down as simple as possible. There's going to be no fluff, just the exact steps you need to go from I want to move to Spain to actually living here. So let's start with step one. Step one is where you need to figure out how you're legally allowed to stay here. This is where most people get stuck because you can't just move to Spain long term without the right residency. For most people, it comes down to a few main options. One of the most popular right now is the Digital Nomad Visa. This is ideal if you work remotely and your client or job is outside Spain and you can prove that you have a stable income. One of the most recent routes was the Golden Visa, which is no longer available. There are other options like a non-lucrative visa, student visas, but they depend on your situation. The key point is, before anything else, you need your legal path. And this is speaking about if you're from outside of Europe, because obviously if you're coming from a country inside Europe, you're not going to have to go through all these loops to get a residency. So after figuring out what kind of visa you think would work for you, you're going to hear this word everywhere, and that is the NIE. This is your foreign identification number in Spain. You're going to need it for basically everything, whether that's renting or buying a property, opening a bank account, and setting up your utilities. Without it, you're stuck. So this is one of the first things you should organize. When I did mine, I was actually able to do it in the Spain Embassy of England. Now, at one point, I think they stopped doing it, but I think you can still do that. So the first action is to check with the Spanish Embassy of the country you're coming from, and maybe that's where you can get it from. Sorry, just to jump in here, I actually meant the Spanish consulate, not the embassy. You may need some help with the paperwork, but if you Google online how to fill in your paperwork for NIE, there is plenty of websites out there which will tell you exactly which bits you need to fill in and what you need and how much you need to pay and how to pay it. You can also get a lawyer, or in Spain there's such a thing called a gestor, which can do all the paperwork and everything for you if you want to take the stress out of it. It's completely up to you, but this is one of the main things you're going to need before doing anything within Spain. So the next step after that would be to sort out your location. And this is where people can go wrong, because most people just jump into the idea thinking, I'll just move and figure it out. But that is a really bad idea, because where you live will define your entire experience. Because if you live somewhere like Barcelona, it's very fast, very busy, and it's expensive. Living in somewhere like Valencia, it's more balanced, but it's still a city. And then you've got places like the Costa del Sol, which is one of the most popular for expats, especially if you want like the warmer weather, the international communities, and the lifestyle. You don't need to get it perfect because obviously once you move here, you can decide if you like where you're living or if you need to adjust something and move. But it is best to get a clear direction before you move. So do you want to live in a big city with all the hustle and bustle? Do you want somewhere a bit more quiet, a bit more relaxed, so you can move at a slower pace? Are you coming here to work? Are you coming here to retire? These are all things to just kind of think about before deciding on the area that you want to move to. Then the next step is to think, do you want to rent a property first or to buy a property? Which all depends on your situation. A lot of people, which is something I did myself when I first came here, they start by renting, which makes sense if you're unsure about the area. So you can kind of get a feel for different areas and see which one you feel more comfortable with. And then if you feel like it, go ahead and buy a property there. The problem with that is, and this is where we get to the reality of things, the rental market in Spain, especially in the more popular areas, is very competitive. There's high demand. They will request some upfront payments from you. Some you may feel uncomfortable with, but that's just the nature of it. And there's very limited availability. And in some of the more touristy places, a lot of people will want to rent their property in the summer when it's busy and they get more customers. So you'll struggle with those summer months finding somewhere to live. So sometimes buying can be a smarter long-term move, especially if you know where you're staying. And we can go deeper into this in another episode, but just know this decision will impact your finances more than anything else. So when you actually move to Spain, you're going to have to set up some basic things. So the first thing is registering your address with the local town hall. This is the empadronamiento. And it's just basically once you've got somewhere to live, you just get your address and register it with the local town hall. And also a Spanish bank account, which is again pretty much straightforward. You can get lawyers as well to help with this. You probably will want to get a phone number so you don't get charged a lot by using a phone number from your home country. Again, that's pretty much straightforward. And again, when you're doing these things, they're going to be asking for that NIE number I was talking about at the beginning. And then also set up some kind of healthcare, whether that's public or private, depending on your visa. Because a lot of times, if you want to become a resident, they will request that you have private healthcare so that you're not a burden on the public healthcare here. And this is the boring part. This is the bit where it's going to be a lot of paperwork and you're going to need a lot of patience, because filling out paperwork in Spain is very long-winded and you can be passed around from pillar to post a lot, and it can get very stressful, but you just have to be patient and take your time. And then once you've got this done, it will make everything else kind of fall into place. And again, one thing you really have to expect when you're living here is things are going to take longer than you think. Mentally, this is the most important step you're going to take, because like I said before, there's going to be a lot of patience that you're going to need, because Spain doesn't move at the same speed as some other countries. Appointments will get delayed, paperwork takes time, and the processes aren't always clear. And if you can just expect that going in, you won't get frustrated and you can enjoy the process a little bit more. So let's do a quick recap of things you're going to want to do. Choose your visa, find out which visas are for you. Obviously, you can speak to a lawyer. There are plenty of lawyers in Spain that speak many different languages, so they can help you decide which visa works out best for your situation. Get your NIE number. Think about which area you want to live in. Decide whether you want to rent a property or buy first. Set up your essentials. And lastly, be patient with the process. That is going to be your roadmap for moving to Spain. And in the next episode, I will break down the real cost of living in Spain with actual numbers, so you know kind of what to expect depending on what your budget is. And if you're already thinking seriously about making the move, especially if you're considering buying a property, take a look at this website, www.southspainproperties.com, and you will see a lot of great properties ranging from lower budgets to the more luxury, higher end budgets, and you can kind of start getting an idea of what properties may fit your budget and kind of what kind of price you're looking at if you do want to live here and buy a property. And the area this company focuses on is the Marbella area and surrounding areas. And as I said at the beginning of this episode, if you're already thinking seriously about making a move, try not to get yourself too bogged down doing too much research and going down a rabbit hole. Just kind of take your time, look into the most important things that I've mentioned in this podcast, the NIE, your visa, those type of things. And, try not to get too stressed out about it. One of the main things that I hear people say when moving to Spain is their biggest regret is not doing it sooner. So if you're kind of putting things off because you want everything to be perfect before you move, it's never going to happen. It's never going to be perfect. You kind of just have to go for it and do what you can and see where things end up. So, yeah, I shall see you in the next episode when we look at the cost of living.